The rain had already soaked through my jacket when I reached the studio. The lights were still on inside, even though Lena had told me she was calling it a night. I smiled to myself, thinking she was working late again. I wanted to surprise her, maybe bring her dinner, maybe tell her the news about the investor. I had no idea I was walking into a graveyard, Lena. I called, pushing open the door. No answer, just soft music. Faint breathing and the sound of laughter I didn't recognize anymore. I took a few steps in. "Hey, you left the lights." Then I froze. Her voice low, breathy, almost a whisper. "Adrian. Someone might come, Adrian. My best friend." "My partner?" "My brother in everything but blood." He laughed softly. "Relax. He's probably still at the meeting. You said he works late, remember?" Something inside me cracked, slow and painful. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. I just stood there watching shadows move through the thin glass window of the recording booth. "Lena," I said quietly. Everything stopped. Her head turned first. Her eyes widened. She looked like she'd seen a ghost. Maybe she had. Adrian turned next, his hand still on her waist, his shirt half undone. "Evan," he said, voice unsteady. "Man, it's not what it looks like." I laughed, though nothing about it felt human. "Not what it looks like? Then what's it supposed to be? A rehearsal?" "Please," Lena whispered, stepping toward me. "I can explain." My voice shook. "You've been explaining for years, your late nights, your phone off, the missed calls. Guess this time the story writes itself." "Evan, stop," she pleaded. "You don't understand. I understand everything," I said. "I gave you my heart, my studio, my trust, and you gave me this." Adrian ran a hand through his hair, trying to act calm. "It just happened, okay? You weren't around and she was lonely. We didn't plan this." "Lonely," I repeated, my hands trembling. "You slept with my girlfriend because she was lonely?" "It's not just that," Lena said, tears starting to form. "We didn't mean to hurt you. You've been so distant, always working, always dreaming about something bigger. I felt like I was fading next to you." Her words hit me harder than the betrayal itself. "So that's your reason? I worked too hard for us, so you decided to destroy us." She covered her face, shaking. "I made a mistake." Adrian stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Evan, don't turn this into something bigger. It's between us. Let's be adults." I stepped forward. "Adults. You betrayed your best friend. You took everything we built together and spat on it. Tell me, Adrian, how long?" He hesitated. That silence said more than any confession could. "Months," Lena whispered. "Since the summer?" My stomach twisted. I couldn't tell if I wanted to scream or vomit. "Why?" I asked softly. "Was I not enough?" She didn't answer. Her silence filled the room like poison. Adrian sighed. "Look, I didn't want you to find out this way. We were going to tell you when." I interrupted. "After you released your first song together? After you stole the studio's name?" He blinked. "What are you talking about?" Dun-T played dumb. "I saw the paperwork on your desk last week. You renamed our company Crossstone Records. Clever? I thought it was for a client." He looked away and that told me everything. Lena reached for me, tears falling now. "Evan, please. I love you. It's complicated." "No, it's simple. You chose him?" "No," she cried, shaking her head. "I didn't choose anyone. I was lost, and stay lost," I said quietly. She broke down, covering her face. Adrian muttered something under his breath. Maybe an apology. Maybe an insult. I didn't care anymore. I turned toward the door. My body felt heavy, like every step took years. "Evan," she called after me, voice breaking. "Please don't leave like this." I stopped but didn't look back. "There's no other way to leave, Lena. You already took everything that mattered." The rain outside was louder now, drowning her sobs. Adrian's voice followed me out. "You'll regret this, man. You always act like the victim, but you're not perfect either." I turned just once, meeting his eyes through the glass. "You're right," I said. "I'm not perfect. I'm just done. I walked out into the storm. The rain felt cold against my face, but inside I felt nothing. My chest was hollow, a room after a song ends. The streetlights blurred through the water in my eyes. My phone buzzed. Her name flashed on the screen. I stared at it for a long time before dropping it into a puddle. It disappeared with a faint splash. I kept walking, past the empty streets, past the memories, past the man I used to be. Somewhere behind me, I could still hear her voice calling my name. But it didn't sound like love anymore. It sounded like an echo. That was the night I lost everything. The night Evan Hale died, and something colder took his place. Asterisk, the morning after felt like someone had turned down the volume of the world. I didn't dream, didn't even cry. I just sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the floor. My phone lit up every few minutes. Lena calling. Then Adrian. Then, unknown number. I didn't answer any of them. When the rain started again, I took it as a sign to leave. I didn't pack much, just my jacket, wallet, and the notebook of lyrics we once wrote together. I left the key on the table and walked out. By the time I reached the old diner on 5th, my shoes were soaked. The smell of coffee and fried eggs hit me like nostalgia. A familiar voice called out, "Evan Hale." No way, I looked up Mira. She smiled, same brown eyes, same messy bun. "Haven't seen you in years? You look different, do I?" I asked, sliding into the booth. She frowned. "Yeah, tired. What happened?" I hesitated. "Nothing worth talking about? That bad?" she said softly. I let out a dry laugh. "Worse." Mira studied me for a moment, then leaned forward. "Let me guess. A woman?" I didn't respond. She sighed. "It's always a woman, or music. Or both." "Both," I said finally. She was my everything. Turns out I was just a side note. Her face softened. "I'm sorry, you don't even know the story." "I don't have to," she said. "You look like someone who just watched his world burn." I gave a small, bitter smile. "You could say that." We sat in silence for a while. The waitress poured us coffee, and the warmth hit my hands like a memory. Mira finally broke the quiet. "You remember when we were 19? You said music was the only thing that never lied to you," I said. "Guess I lied to it instead." "What do you mean?" "I stopped listening. I let love drown it out. Now it's gone." She tilted her head. "So what will you do now?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "Maybe disappear for a while." "You won't?" she said, smiling faintly. "You're not the disappearing kind. You don't know me anymore." "I know enough," she replied. "You always give too much. Even when it hurts." That line hit harder than I expected. "Maybe that's the problem." "No," she said gently. "That's what makes you human." I stared at her, trying to remember the last time someone had spoken to me without pity. Myra took a sip of coffee. "If you ever need a place to crash, I've got a couch. No questions asked." "Thanks," I said quietly, "but I think I just need space." She nodded. "Then take it. But don't stay gone too long." When I left the diner, the air felt heavier, not colder, just real. I walked until the city lights blurred into colorless streaks. Every step felt like it carried a ghost. That night, I sat in the dark corner of my old studio building, staring at the locked door. My name was still on the sign. Hale Studios. It felt wrong, like a lie carved in metal. I pulled out my phone. 50 missed calls. 20 messages. The latest one from Lena read, "Please talk to me. I made a mistake. I can't lose you." Then another. "Adrian said you'd forgive us. Please, Evan, forgive." The word made me laugh, hollow and bitter. I deleted every message, then blocked both of them. The silence that followed felt almost peaceful. I whispered into the empty street, "You don't get to call me anymore." A stray cat meowed nearby, startling me. I looked down at it and said, "At least you're honest." It blinked at me and walked away. I leaned against the wall, watching my breath fog in the air. My hands trembled, but not from the cold. From the weight of finally letting go, or at least pretending to. By midnight, found myself walking again, no direction, no plan. just moving because stopping meant remembering. The city was asleep, but my thoughts screamed. Evan Hale, I muttered to myself. The man who built dreams for others and destroyed his own? The words echoed down the street until even they faded into the rain. That night I realized silence wasn't peace. It was punishment, and I wasn't ready to be forgiven yet. The days started to blur together. I stopped counting them after 30, maybe 40. All I knew was that the sun kept rising. I kept pretending it didn't matter. I still had the studio keys, but I never went inside. Just walking by the building made my chest tighten. I took a job tending bar at a small place downtown. Dark lighting, cheap drinks, live music on Fridays. It was ironic, really. I served alcohol to people chasing the same escape I was drowning in. One night, the guitarist played a familiar tune, one I'd written for Lena's first single. I froze, glass midair. "Hey, you okay?" The bartender beside me asked. I forced a smile. "Fine, just didn't expect to hear that song? You write it or something?" "Something like that," he laughed. "Then you should sue whoever butchered it." I chuckled weakly. Maybe I already did. The music kept playing, and all I could think about was how every chord sounded wrong now. My song, her voice, his betrayal. When my shift ended, I walked home past glowing billboards. One of them flashed an ad. Adrian Cross and Lena Moore. New label launching soon. My stomach twisted. My studio. My name. My sound. The next morning, I found myself unlocking the old studio door for the first time in months. The air inside smelled like dust and old coffee. Everything was exactly where I'd left it, except emptier. I ran my hand across the piano keys. "You miss me?" I muttered. The silence answered for me. I sat down, pressing a few notes. They clashed, harsh, uneven. I tried again. Same thing. The sound was wrong, like it was fighting me. I slammed the keys. "Come on," I whispered. "Work." But the more I played, the more it all sounded like noise. No rhythm, no melody. Just chaos. "Maybe you're broken," I said to the piano. Then I realized it wasn't. I was. I dropped my head onto the keys, letting the dissonance ring. A knock startled me, Evan. It was Mira, holding 2 coffees and looking at me like she wasn't sure if she should smile or cry. "How'd you find me?" I asked. "You sent me your address weeks ago when you were drunk," she said, stepping in. "You said if you disappeared, start here." I laughed softly. I guess I kept my word. She set the coffees down. "You look terrible. Thanks. Have you been sleeping?" "Define sleeping," she sighed. "You can't keep doing this. I'm fine. You're lying." "Yeah," I said, leaning back in the chair. "But it sounds better than the truth." She didn't argue. Instead, she walked to the wall where an old photo of Lena and me still hung, the two of us smiling, holding a trophy from a local contest. Mira stared at it, then turned. "You're still letting her live here, aren't you?" "Habit," I said. "Some ghost refused to leave." She tore the photo off the wall and handed it to me. "Then evict her." I hesitated. "You sure that's not your anger talking?" "No," she said firmly. "It's mine and yours combined." I looked at the photo, her smile, my arm around her, and felt something break for good. I tore it in half. Mira nodded. "Good. Now write something new." "I can't," I admitted. "Every time I try, it comes out wrong." "Then let it be wrong," she said. Pain doesn't have to sound perfect. Her words lingered long after she left. I sat there for hours, staring at the empty sheet music. Then, out of nowhere, I opened my old notebook, the one Lena had written lyrics in. The last page was unfinished. It read, "When the silence grows loud enough, maybe you'll hear me again." I stared at it until my eyes blurred. Something about those words hit differently now. I picked up a pen and finished the line, "No, I won't. I'll finally hear myself." I started writing messy, fast, angry. The lyrics poured out like blood. The song wasn't about her anymore. It was about what she'd taken and what I had to take back. By dawn, my voice was hoarse from humming melodies. The music still hurt, but at least it was mine again. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Congrats on the new label. Hope there are no hard feelings. AI stared at it for a full minute before replying, don't worry. I don't feel anything anymore. Then I blocked the number. I looked around the studio. Cracked walls, scattered cables, half-broken instruments, and smiled for the first time in months. Guess it's just you and me again. I whispered to the piano. The room stayed quiet. But somehow, it didn't feel empty anymore. When I finally walked out into the morning light, I felt something shift inside me. Not peace, not yet, but purpose. They could steal my love, my name, even my music. But they'd never silence me again. 6 months later, I barely recognized the man in the mirror. The beard was new. The sleepless eyes were permanent. But beneath all that, something stronger had formed, someone who didn't beg anymore. I'd started performing small sets at underground clubs under the name Hale. No last name, no past attached. Just sound, just truth. After one late show, Mira found me backstage, holding her drink like it was an award. You've changed, she said. I wiped sweat off my face. For better or worse? For real, she said. That's better than either. I laughed quietly. Funny, it took losing everything to finally be myself. She handed me a card. There's someone you should meet. Caleb Reed, producer. He works with independent artists. He's brutal, but he listens. I'm not sure I'm ready for brutal, I said. You survived worse, she replied. She wasn't wrong. 2 days later, I met Caleb in a small studio that smelled like old vinyl and ambition. He looked me over the way a mechanic inspects a wrecked car, curious but cautious. So, he said, lighting a cigarette. You're the guy with pain in his voice. Guess that's one way to put it, I said. Play me something. I pulled out my guitar. The one I'd almost destroyed months ago, and started singing Echoes, the song I'd written after tearing Lena's photo in half. When I finished, Caleb exhaled slowly. That sounded like you were bleeding. Feels that way, I said. Good, he said. People don't want perfect. They want honest. You've got that. I frowned. And what do you want? He smiled. To make something real again. The industry's full of liars. Maybe you can scare a few of them. We shook hands that night. That's how it started. Within weeks, he had me recording in a small booth, pushing my limits every session. Louder, he'd say. Stop hiding behind melody. Let them hear your scars. Mira would drop by, bringing coffee and sarcasm. You know you're actually good when you stop brooding, she teased one night. I thought brooding was my brand, I said, please. She laughed. You're already tragic enough. I smiled, the kind of smile that didn't hurt anymore. Caleb was right. The music started sounding real again. It wasn't about Lena or Adrian anymore. It was about what came after. One night, after recording, Caleb leaned against the console. You ever plan to show your face publicly? Why? I asked. Because your voice is getting attention. You keep hiding, people will start thinking you're dead. I thought about it for a second. Maybe that's better. Let them believe Hale is someone new, Caleb smirked. Then maybe Hale needs a story. He wasn't wrong. The song Echoes dropped online 2 weeks later. I didn't expect much. But the next morning, it was everywhere. Playlists, reaction videos, fans quoting lyrics about heartbreak and rebirth. Mira called me first. You're viral, you idiot. I laughed. You're kidding? No, people are crying over your voice. One girl said your song saved her from quitting music. I leaned back in my chair, heart pounding. Saved her. Yeah, she said. Guess your pain finally paid rent? I didn't know whether to laugh or cry, so I did both. Later that night, Caleb messaged me. They're asking who Hale is. Keep it quiet. Mystery sells. I stared at the screen, smiling. Hale wasn't a mystery, he was me without the pain dragging behind. Still, when I closed my laptop, I couldn't help whispering to the empty room. You hear that, Lena? People finally hear me. The silence that followed wasn't painful anymore. It was proud. Mira texted soon after. You sound alive again, I replied. Maybe. I finally am. And for the first time in what felt like years, I believed it. It happened on a Tuesday, the kind of day that starts ordinary and ends, with ghosts knocking at your door. Echoes had been out for 2 months. The streams kept climbing. People were calling me the voice of Heartbreak, whatever that meant. I didn't feel famous, just awake. That morning, I was in Caleb's studio finishing a demo when he leaned back in his chair. "You've got interviews lined up," he said. "Radio stations, podcasts. Everyone wants to meet the mystery man behind the pain." "Let them meet Hale," I said. "Not Evan." He raised a brow. "Still hiding?" "Still healing," I corrected. He smirked. "Same thing." I didn't argue. Maybe it was. That night, during a live radio interview, the host leaned forward with a grin. "Your song Echoes, was it inspired by someone special?" I laughed softly. "You could say that. Sometimes pain writes better lyrics than love ever could." The host chuckled. "Sounds personal," it was I said simply. The interview went viral overnight. By morning, my inbox was full of messages, fans, journalists, old friends, even people I hadn't spoken to in years. But one message stood out. It was from an unknown number. The text read, "Is that song about us?" Froze. Only one person would ask that, Lena. I didn't reply. I just stared at the screen until the letters blurred, then locked my phone. Later that afternoon, Myra dragged me out for lunch. "You've been living in that studio," she said. "You need sunlight before you start writing emo ballads about coffee machines." Why smirked? "Maybe I already have." She rolled her eyes. "You're impossible." We sat at a small outdoor cafe. The air smelled like roasted beans and rain. For once, I almost felt normal until I heard that voice. Evan. I looked up, and there he was, Adrian Cross. Expensive suit, designer watch. Same smug grin that once fooled me into calling him family. I stood slowly. Myra's eyes widened. "That's him, isn't it?" she whispered. I nodded. Adrian smirked. Well, if it isn't the tragic artist himself. "I see fame looks good on you. Didn't expect to see you crawling out of the spotlight," I said. He laughed. "Still bitter, huh? Come on, man. It's been, what, half a year? You're doing fine." We all moved on. I clenched my fists. "Moved on? You stole everything I'd built." He shrugged. "You left it behind." "I just picked it up." Mira stepped in. "Maybe you should leave before this gets ugly." Adrian looked her up and down. "And you are?" "Someone who actually respects him," she shot back. He chuckled. "You found yourself a bodyguard now?" "Keep talking," she said, "and you'll find out what else I am." I put a hand on her shoulder. "It's fine." Adrian smirked again. "You know, I almost admire you. Turning heartbreak into fame? Genius move. I mean, you should thank me. Without me and Lena, you'd still be a nobody." That line hit hard, not because it hurt, but because it didn't anymore. I smiled. "You might be right. So thanks." He blinked, thrown off. "That's it?" "That's it," I said. "You can keep whatever's left of your pride. I don't need it." I turned to leave. Mira followed, but Adrian called after me. "You think you're better than us now, huh?" I stopped. "No," I said quietly. "Just free." He didn't have a comeback for that. When we got back to the car, Mira looked at me like she was studying something new. "You handled that well." "He's already losing." She frowned. "You mean professionally?" "Worse," I said. "He's losing peace." That night, I sat alone on my balcony, city lights blinking below. My phone buzzed again, another message from Lena. "I heard you ran into Adrian." "I'm sorry. I didn't know he'd reach out. I just wanted you to know I still think about you." I typed a reply, then deleted it. Instead, I whispered to myself, "I don't." The wind carried the words away, and for the first time, I almost believed them. Asterisk rumors travel faster than truth in this industry. I wasn't even trying to listen, but every conversation around me seemed to end with the same names, Adrian Cross and Lena Moore, by the third week. The whispers got louder. Their label was in trouble. A plagiarism scandal. investors backing out. Some songs borrowed from old unreleased demos, mine, apparently. Caleb tossed a newspaper onto the table. You seeing this? The headline read, Crossstone Records under fire for copyright theft. I stared at it for a long time. Guess karma knows how to keep time. Caleb smirked. You gonna say something publicly? No, I said. The truth doesn't need my help. He nodded slowly. You've changed, man, maybe, I said. Or maybe I finally stopped caring. Later that night, I went home and made coffee, pretending not to check my phone every few minutes. Part of me wanted Lena to reach out. Another part prayed, she, WOULD, and single quotes. She did. Please, I need to see you. I stared at the screen, then typed back, why? Her reply came seconds later. I can't explain in a message. Please, Evan. Against my better judgment, I agreed. The rain started again, always the rain. She met me outside my apartment building, soaked to the bone, hair tangled, eyes red. Lena, I said quietly. She shivered. You still say my name like it means something. Used to, I said. She took a shaky breath. I don't deserve to be here, but I didn't know where else to go. What happened? Adrian happened, she said bitterly. He used me, Evan. I thought he loved me. He said we'd build something together. But the songs, the label, it was all about him. When things started falling apart, he blamed me. I just watched her. She kept talking, words spilling out like confession. He took my savings. My voice, my reputation. I have nothing left. I sighed. Now you know how it feels. Her voice cracked. You hate me. I can see it. No, I said. I don't hate you anymore. Then why are you looking at me like that? Because I don't recognize you, I said. The woman I loved wouldn't have let anyone destroy her like this. Tears mixed with rain on her cheeks. I destroyed myself the day I walked out on you. Silence hung heavy between us. She whispered, Can you forgive me? I looked at her, really looked at her. She was trembling, broken, a shell of who she'd been. Once, I would have given anything to hear those words. Now, they just sounded empty. I don't know if forgiveness is what you need, I said. Maybe you just need to remember who you were before all this. Her lips quivered. And you? Have you forgiven yourself? The question caught me off guard. I didn't answer. She stepped closer. I still listen to your song, she said. Every night, echoes. It feels like you're talking to me. I wasn't, I said. I was talking to the part of me that died because of you. She flinched. I deserve that. I shook my head. No one deserves eternal punishment, Lena. But that doesn't mean we get to start over. She wiped her face, voice breaking. I thought maybe if I told you the truth you did, I said. And I believe you. But believing doesn't change what happened. Her shoulders slumped. Then this is goodbye. It already was, I said softly. She hesitated, as if hoping I'd stop her. I didn't. When she finally turned and walked away, her reflection disappeared into the wet pavement like she'd never existed. Inside my apartment, I sat in silence, listening to the rain. Mira called a few minutes later. You okay? She asked. She came by, I said. I figured. You sound strange. What happened? She wanted forgiveness. And did you give it? I gave her peace, I said. That's close enough. Mira was quiet for a moment. You're stronger than I thought. Oh, I said. Just tired. She sighed. Sometimes tired means healed. I smiled faintly. Then maybe I'm getting there. Before hanging up, she added, she'll regret it forever, right? She already does, I said. That's punishment enough. After the call, I walked to the piano and played the first few notes of Echoes. The sound filled the room, not with sadness, but with closure. Outside, the rain softened. Inside, I felt something loosen in my chest. Maybe forgiveness wasn't a word. Maybe it was just the sound of letting go. The world didn't stop after Lena left. It just got quieter. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was honest. I spent the next few weeks focused on music. Every melody I wrote sounded softer, lighter, like a wound finally learning how to scar. Caleb noticed, "Your songs don't sound like Heartbreak anymore," he said one afternoon, watching me record. "Maybe because they're not," I replied. "They're about surviving it," he grinned. "That's your next album title right there?" I chuckled. "Don't tempt me." Then his phone buzzed. He frowned, reading a message. "You might want to see this." He handed it to me. A news alert read, "Adrian Cross hospitalized after onstage collapse." I stared at the headline. "What happened?" "Stress," they said. "Probably the pressure from the lawsuits. Fans turning on him. Sponsors pulling out. The guy's world is crumbling." I didn't say anything. I didn't feel triumph or pity, just emptiness. Caleb studied me. "You're not going to gloat?" "No," I said. "I've already wasted too much of my life on him." That night, Mira came over with takeout and 2 beers. "You saw the news?" I nodded. She sighed. "You're taking it well." "There's nothing left to take," I said. She sat beside me, watching me quietly. "You ever think about visiting him? For closure?" I laughed softly. "Closure doesn't come from seeing the person who broke you. It comes from realizing they can't hurt you anymore." She nodded slowly. "Still, that's one hell of an ending." "Maybe," I said. "But endings are just the start of something new." A few days later, I got another message from Lena again. "He's asking for you, Adrian. He said he needs to talk." I almost ignored it. Almost, but curiosity's a hard thing to kill. The hospital was quiet, all white walls and disinfectant. I found Adrian sitting up in bed, pale, thinner than I remembered. No cameras, no spotlight. Just him. When he saw me, he actually smiled. "Didn't think you'd come?" "I didn't either," I said. He coughed weakly. "Guess I'm not invincible after all." "No one is," I said. He looked down at his hands. "You hate me, right?" "I used to," I said. "Now I just don't care." He laughed bitterly. "That's worse." "Probably." He sighed. "I lost everything, Evan. The label, the fans, Lena, even myself. Feels like the world's collecting debts I forgot I owed." "Maybe it's just paying you back with interest," I said quietly. He nodded. "Yeah, I deserve that." Silence filled the room. Then he looked up. "You ever wish we could go back?" "No," I said. "If I went back, I'd never become who I am now." He exhaled, long and shaky. "You always had something I didn't. A heart that actually meant what it said." I frowned. "Don't romanticize it, Adrian. I wasn't noble. I was just naive." He smiled faintly. "Maybe, but at least you've still got to find peace." "I earned it," I said. He leaned back against the pillows. "I envy that." For a moment, we both sat in silence, 2 men on opposite sides of the same story. "I'm sorry," he said finally, "for everything." I nodded. "I know." He looked relieved, as if hearing that made the air lighter. When I stood to leave, he whispered, "You think there's a chance I can fix any of it?" I paused at the door. "Maybe not what you broke, but you can stop breaking yourself." He smiled weakly. "That's fair." Outside, the evening air felt cleaner. I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until I let it out. Mira called as I walked out of the hospital. "You went, didn't you?" "Yeah, and..." He apologized. "Did you forgive him?" "I think I did," I said. "But not for him." For me, she was quiet for a while, then said softly, "You're finally free, Evan." I looked up at the city lights. "Yeah," I said. "For the first time, I think I am." For once, there was no echo of pain in my voice, just peace. Asterisk, they say. Peace feels like silence. They're wrong. Peace feels like a melody you don't have to finish because it already sounds complete. A month passed after I saw Adrian. The world moved on, and so did I. My second album, Resonance, was almost done. The songs weren't about pain anymore. They were about what came after. Mira sat across from me in the studio, tapping her pen against her notebook. "You realize this album's going to break people in a different way, right?" "How so?" I asked. It's not about heartbreak. It's about healing. And that's harder to face. I smiled. Then maybe it's the right one. She looked at me for a long moment. You've changed a lot since the night we met. I had to, I said. I was tired of bleeding for people who liked the color. She laughed softly. You and your dramatic lines comes with the job. We worked late into the night. Around midnight, Caleb dropped by with coffee. You're trending again, he said, tossing his phone to me. On the screen was a headline. Lena Moore speaks out. I lost the only man who ever believed in me. I stared at it. A short clip played Lena at some small charity concert, voice trembling as she spoke. If he's listening, I just want him to know I'm proud of him. He turned pain into something beautiful. I couldn't. Caleb frowned. You gonna respond? No, I said. Some things don't need answers. You're not even curious how she is? I already know, I said quietly. She's learning the same lesson I did how to live with the echo. The lights dimmed, the city humming outside the windows. I sat at the piano, fingers tracing the keys without pressing them. Funny, I muttered. I used to play to forget her. Now I play to remember who I became because of her. The door creaked open. It was Caleb again. You good, man? Yeah, I said. Just finishing something. He looked at the sheet music. New song? Final track, I said. It's called The Silence After the Storm. He smiled. Fitting. I nodded. It's not about her. Not about me either. It's about the space between what we lose and what we find. He gave me a small nod. You sure you don't want to release it as a single? No, I said. It's not for the world. It's for me. He clapped my shoulder and left. I pressed record and began to play. No words, just note soft, raw, honest. It felt like closure. When the last chord faded, I whispered, Goodbye, Lena. Goodbye, Adrian. Goodbye, Evan Hale, because I wasn't that man anymore. The next morning, the sun broke through the blinds. Mira called just to say, I heard the demo. It's perfect. I smiled. It's done. What now? She asked. I looked out the window. Now I live. For once, there was no ache behind those words. Just calm. I closed the laptop, stepped outside, and let the city noise swallow me whole. No cameras, no headlines, no ghosts. Just the sound of my own heartbeat steady, alive, unafraid. And that was enough.